We got a stacked show for you guys today. We're going to dive into a lot of the controversy that went on in CJI 2. We got Zach Maslany, one of the judges at CJI, calling in to kind of dive into this some more, explain some of the things that happened and why they happened. We're also going to talk about some of the main big moments from the event. But I wanted to tell you guys that this show is presented by IM8, the all-in-one formula for fighters, built for performance, trusted for recovery. Use code FLOWSPORTS for 10% off and visit im8health.com/FlowSports to get yours today. That's, like I said, 10% off for IM8. You guys aren't going to miss this deal. So go to IM8. That's the letter I, letter M, the number 8, health.com/FlowSports to get yours now. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the FloGrappling Show, aka the worst show on the internet. As always, I'm Trey Robinson. We got Joey Gilps as usual, Uncle Reed right there, and then we're doubling up on the unks this episode. Calling in, we got Big Uncle Zach Maslany calling in. He was one of the judges at CJI. So you guys know, obviously, this episode we got to do a big CJI recap. We got to talk about everything that's going on, and we thought it would make sense to bring in one of the judges who knows the rules better than everybody, can kind of break down everything that happened, because obviously CJI ended up with a little controversy. A lot of people are talking and stuff, but just to start it off, what's up, Zach? Thanks for
coming on, Zach. What's up, Zach?
Let's get it.
Hell yeah! What up, guys?
How's it going, man? What did you think of the event overall? Was it a good time?
Oh my God, yeah, I had a great time. All doing this kind of stuff for me is so huge because I can blow up on social media as much as possible. Plus, I'm working in my field. So they put me on as a professional. So I'm very honored to be there. I thank Craig and Seth and and Anthony and everybody for having me through. So, it was insane though, man. The energy in there, every time you go to these kind of events, you forget how crazy it is once you're actually there. It's a completely different experience than watching it on TV. So.
And you were a judge on CJI 1 too, obviously, right?
Yep.
We weren't there for CJI 1, but just kind of how did it compare?
I mean, for me sitting down there, I thought it was still crazy. I'm a huge fan of jiu-jitsu. So even when I see people just get from, half guard and pass, I'm like the Japanese, I'm like, yeah, let's go. That's crazy. I know everybody else, just like, UFC fans only want to see knockouts, and see submissions and stuff. And I do too, but I recognize it's it's a little bit, the formats change and everything. So it's a little bit different, but nothing, I don't think anything will ever compare to the Tackett versus Ruotolo match. I had to pinch myself multiple times during that one to be like, dude, you're judging this, pay attention, so.
Definitely, dude. That is a good point. Obviously everyone wants to see Tackett versus Cade Ruotolo, that's the ideal match. But bro, there's beauty in all jiu-jitsu. Some of these matchups where it's two dudes who are just complete stalemate, where it's I guess a good example would be Chris Wojcik versus Lucas Kennard, where it was just holy shit, dude, these guys are so good at leg locks that it's just everything is just getting shut down on both ends. So I'm glad to have a dude on the show who can appreciate all that and everything.
Yeah, they're getting greedy out there, man.
Yeah,
how is this anything other than just an incredible event and an incredible success for the jiu-jitsu community? Incredible jiu-jitsu. You guys are getting too greedy out there.
True.
Yeah,
that.
I have to agree. I think people are just they want to see the craziest shit happen, and to be able to top the thing every time is going to be nuts. You know what I mean? It's going to be impossible. And look at just the roster of guys on there. I think should have blown people's minds to see, Mika go a couple times, to see some of these guys have to go out there and compete in matchups that you would never see before. It's basically like WWF Survivor Series. You know what I mean? It may not be you don't get to see Hulk Hogan for an hour, but you got to see him for a little bit. You know what I mean? You got to see a little bit of everybody. So I think it was a huge win, despite what internet trolls are saying.
Definitely. What I know you're a dude who watches a ton of jiu-jitsu also. How does it change whenever you're watching a jiu-jitsu match for, just viewing pleasures or technique or something like that versus whenever you're stepping into a judge's position like this and you're kind of having to lock in a different way? Does that change it a lot for you?
Oh yeah, 100%. Some of the matches that I didn't judge, for instance, the finals match, which I'm sure, or the finals quintet match, which we'll get into, but that, people, I was just watching it right behind the smooth comp guys there. And, people kept coming up to me and being like, what do you think of that one? What do you judge that one? I'm like, I don't know. I didn't really watch it like that. I was just kind of turning my brain off for some of the other ones and just watching it as a fan, and seeing like what happened and like kind of maybe rooting for a guy or something. But when I go to step in to judge, I have to be like, okay, I'm not judging off, obviously who I like. So I'm being, totally like either side can win, doesn't matter. And then I'm also not judging off what I think the guy can do. Like when I'm watching a regular match, I'm like, oh, I think he's going to go for an armbar. I think he's going to do this. Like I have to just look and judge only what's happening in the match. So I kind of like turn it off when I become when I'm not judging it. I'm not like totally locked in. So I had no idea. That's why I went back and rewatched a bunch of matches that I didn't judge, and then some of the ones that I did, just to go over it again. And honestly, it's kind of like when I compete, when I come out of it, I'm like, I don't even know what just happened. I have to go back and rewatch it and see.
For sure.
I want to ask you, Zach, can you tell us about the conversation where they first approached you to be a judge? What was that like?
Yeah. So, well, in the beginning for CJI 1, when I first heard it was announced, even when Craig just kind of teased something was going on, I was like, all right, this is my shot right here. And, this is some free game for all you young guys out there is I just keep DMing people. Like, I don't care. I'll just hit them up a million times and be like, yo, man, please let me be on. I want to be involved in this show somehow. How I want to try to grow the sport as much as possible. And I love being involved in stuff like this. So I was like, I'll clean toilets at the Thomas and Mack if I have to. Just throw me on. It's kind of like how I got into 10th Planet. I just keep telling Eddie Bravo, like, yo, I'm going to teach 10th Planet anyways. You might as well let me pay you to do it. I'm going to come through. And they were like, all right, hold on. We'll see what happens. And then Craig hit me up out of the blue one time. He called me in the morning and was like, hey, do you want to judge this thing? And I was like, yeah. So I had no idea what to expect. I didn't know who his other judges were. I didn't know who was going to be refs or anything like that. So, once that happened, I was like, oh man, I hope this goes through. I didn't hear from them for a couple of weeks, because I'm sure they were busy. And then I just got an email from Seth, and it's been 100% go from there.
Was that call in the morning with Craig? Was it a like a refreshed, probably got a good night's sleep, Craig, or was that like?
Did I freeze up?
Maybe so. I think we can still hear you, but video's frozen. Yeah, we can take a second.
Oh, come on.
That's all right. We can.
Did it go through? Okay,
yeah, there we go. I can cut some stuff if needed too for like a freeze ups or something like that. But
yeah, I don't know. My internet's good. I don't know what's going on.
But whenever Craig called you in that morning, was it Craig coming off a bender, Craig, or a refreshed 8-hour sleep, Craig? Because that was a wild time. I feel like of Craig's partying days whenever he was trying to figure out what he was going to do with the original CJI and stuff.
Yeah, I think he was in another country or something. So it was like a weird time that I got it. And it was like a super quick call. And then he messaged me right afterwards. So,
gotcha.
Yeah, it was definitely unexpected. I was like, whoa, hold on. I told my son, I was like, well, I got to answer this. This could be important.
Gotcha. Go ahead.
Do you have judging experience out before CJI? Can you tell people kind of what your background is with that?
Yeah, I started the finishers tournament out here, which was, a sub only, and we mainly did EBI rules. But I was kind of like in charge of, I first started off reffing it, because nobody knew how to ref the EBI rules in the beginning. And then I got a couple other jobs reffing jiu-jitsu matches. Like I reffed a couple of the Emerald Cities and some of the other bigger events here on the East Coast. I just think my experience in all the events, Craig was probably like, okay, this guy wants to do it. He's got the knowledge. He's a black belt under Eddie Bravo. So I've been in the game. So I think I kind of fit the bill as like the sub only guy, the 10th Planet guy. So like, if there's like, hey, we need one of those type of guys that kind of fits that mold, they're like, all right, let's go to this guy. He's got the experience. Not like I was just a competitor and I jumped in there. I've been running the events for a while and behind the scenes of a lot of other events that I've helped with too, plus being there with Flo, for Who's Number One championships and all that stuff. I've always been kind of like trying to be involved as much as possible. So this was like a new thing for me, but we took it super seriously. So
definitely. And so I do just kind of like, I think we should just get into the B Team New Wave final, so obviously the whole quintet style teams event accumulated into B Team versus New Wave, potentially one of the craziest, biggest storylines that could play out. And then in only a fashion, that B Team and New Wave can pull off.
Of course.
Like, it's like, of course, these guys, you know, they couldn't go out and just make it win by submission or like a clear, decisive thing. It came out in potentially the most controversial way possible. The teams ended up in a 47-47 draw. So all matches went to a draw, no submissions. And then finally the score came out 47-47, and we had to go to a tiebreaker. So I kind of want to just start off with just talking about the tiebreaker, because that's where it feels like there's so much back and forth online right now, you know? And I know, like, I kind of saw the post. I saw Damian posting it. I saw all these guys posting contracts and their interpretations of the tiebreaker and all of that. I guess just from the judge's perspective, what was the set tiebreaker ruling going into this match already? Because obviously, like, I know there's people saying now it's like, oh, we're making up rules on the fly and stuff, but clearly this is something that was in place before, right? Like, I assume you guys weren't winging it. So could you just give us the context of what was the tiebreaker going into this?
Yeah, sure. 100%. So I'm also not involved in the like making of the rules. Like, I did help with some things. Like, I probably made suggestions along the way when we had the meeting. So I didn't make up any of these rules, but I was a part of 10th Planet's quintet, women's quintet, when Grace was on the quintet team. So I had experience with the quintet rules. I remember reading over the ones that we got from Sakuraba back in the day. And when the teams went to the draw in regular quintet, they just judges that you'd have no idea who they were just made the decision. It was like a secret judge. They would just pick a team, you know. So that kind of happened with Grace's team. I think 10th Planet went to all draws, and then they just got, you know, they just picked, and, you know, this person won, you know what I mean? So I think with this one, the idea was, you know, with the judging, you know, we were going to, you know, have rules. There had to be all these rules made to, if it does go to a draw, or since we're using the judges for the quintet as well, we have to figure out what happens if the scores are tied. And these were all things that had to be worked out. I mean, it's like months of going through these rules and, you know, trying to find any hole for them, and any time where there was like, oh, well, what if this happens? And everyone's like, actually, yeah, we got to look into that and figure out a solution for that. So Miha did a great job. I mean, Seth and Craig and all them working on it. And I feel like they did an awesome job. And we went over these rules with all the coaches and referees and stuff many times. So, and the judges' decisions, like if you're looking under the criteria under number 2, where it says judges' decisions under the scoring consideration specific to the format, it has down here if 5. So even before I say this, like, it probably said whichever team first. I think the one that is being shared by Gordon Ryan, he's probably sharing the one that they originally got when some of the athletes signed their contracts to be on this. You know, they got the original rules, you know, but then obviously there were rules and there were considerations and things added, like the half guard. Like, if you scroll up in that half guard position for the stalling, that came later as well. Like, that wasn't in there right away. So there's tons of things that in the original rules that, whatever, I don't know how many weeks ago some of these guys signed, they probably signed one for the original one. This kind of stuff happens all the time, I'm sure, where stuff gets added. And, you know, I'm not going to speak to like actual contracts and what was in it, but from what I'm seeing, it looks like they're sharing an old version of the rules. And then some of the like added stuff in here was like the weight consideration for scoring, you know, different things that like just had to be added. So as it went in, you know, we did a bunch of rules meetings. And then as we, you know, got more questions and things got brought up, we, you know, well, not me, but Anthony and the other guys changed the rules and added it. And then we went over it with all the coaches and stuff. So do you have a question? Or?
Zach, the number 2, judge's decision thing, I'm not sure if we have it up on the screen right here, or we did.
Yeah, I'm looking at it too.
Okay, is that the right? Do we have the right one? The most
high on score. There should be 3 things. It looks like something is cut off on the bottom there.
This is what was floating around online. We didn't cut anything off for whatever.
You can
what should
see.
The third thing be?
You could see it says, it looks like there's something about cut. See, that says under non-draw
for sure, but what should it be?
It should say there is no open there is no open scoring, i.e. judges' scorecards are not revealed after each individual bout. Scorecards are shown only if team duel goes to judge's decision and will be presented as an aggregate tally of bouts scored. And then it just had like, example 50, 45, 49, 48, etc.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure that we didn't have anything or didn't have an old version of it up there or anything like that. But so just I guess, so how that rule is written in red, how is your interpretation of how that was applied then, I guess, on Sunday night?
Yeah, so if I'm a lawyer, maybe I'm looking at this a little bit different, which I'm not. You know what I mean? If there's like, well, this one comes first and this bullet point comes first, I'm not sure about that. Like, I can't really speak on that. But I know in the meetings when Miha clearly went over these ones where he said, like, if 5 double eliminations occur, then each team final athlete's double eliminated. Like, so if the last one like goes to a draw, then the team which has the most, judges was like, let's say if it was 4-1 or any of those, that's what they would take it off, right? But did it lock up? I just want to make sure before I keep going.
We can still hear you, but just the video's kind of lagged a little. Maybe give it a second here.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. I'll read that one over. I don't know why it keeps cutting out, but so on number 2, judges' decisions, the first thing just basically says if they're all double eliminations and they're all, neither one ends in a submission, then they go off the team that has the most judges wins. But if it's tied on the scorecards, it should have said, and if there maybe, you know what I mean? Maybe that would have helped like make it more sense. If it's tied on the scorecards, then the team athlete who won the final bout. And I think Damian has shared it on his Instagram where it shows Miha in one of those judges meetings. And that was with all the coaches. Every coach was there, I'm pretty sure. I know Galval was there. Donaher was there. Eddie Bravo was there. Obviously, he shared a funny clip of him on the next slide. Talking about the stalling and stuff. But and he said if it goes, then it would be whoever won the last match. And I know that's only one of the meetings. There's probably another meeting where we went through that as well, when he, gave examples of like what happens when, it goes like that. So I know it is a little confusing. I'm not going to lie. And that's the actual, one that we went over with the guys. So I'm sure they knew that. Nobody really asked, how these judges or these meetings go. Sometimes no one asks any questions, like Damian had a lot of good questions. And John did too about, some of the, like some of the minutia of like the positioning and stuff like that. He brought up some good points. Like everybody had good points, but sometimes like you think like, okay, maybe this isn't going to apply, or like this is the craziest situation that could happen. But that's usually what happens in situations like this, where you're like, this will never happen, but we have it there, and then it happened
for sure.
So.
I have one question about the rule specifically, and kind of, I guess I just want to ask it so you can either like point out where I'm misinterpreting it, or like what's wrong in my thinking, or I guess right, whatever. But like whenever I first saw those 2 bullet points, I kind of, my first interpretation, because for one, it was just hard to like understand. Like I kept reading it over and over, slow reading rate, like whatever. So it took me a few tries, but I was like,
we're public school boys here at FloGrappling.
But I'm like reading it and everything, and I'm kind of trying to interpret it, and to me it kind of reads as if like for sure the first bullet point being the team matchups point is like confusing, but then the second one where it says like if that ends in a draw, it just feels like the word draw is used so much that it's like that can technically mean multiple things in this context. Like for one, it can mean a draw as in both athletes are eliminated, and the match like in live time is just like both athletes are out, let's get the next guys up. But then the other side of that, where it's like what a draw could mean, is an actual like 9-9 score. You know what I mean? Like so every now and then in MMA, you see them go out and be like, this is a draw, and both guys get their hands raised or whatever, and it's awkward. So my first interpretation of it was, I wonder if this is supposed to be in the context of all matches go to a draw, and also it's now 2-2 on matchups, and then the last deciding matchup ended up being like a 9-9 draw, so now they have to go to another criteria, which would be like the last match or something.
Or maybe not even the last match was a draw, but like one of the matches was a 9-9 draw.
So now they need another criteria to then decide it based on. And so I guess I'm curious, like, your thoughts on that, because that was where I was like, maybe that's why people are confused about this interpretation, or how I guess myself is confused. But I don't know. What do you think about that interpretation of the rules, I guess?
Yeah, I think it's tough. I think this is why, this has to be gone over, and either made better or more specific, I guess. So it doesn't leave it up to interpretation afterwards, and, everybody's upset, and especially with this much money on the line. Like I said, I didn't really have, I didn't have any, say in like how this was written up. I know they tried their best with it, but I could see where, it could be like, a draw could mean a couple of different things, and then which one of these kind of is precedent to the other one, so, the only thing I could say to it is like when we had the meetings, like, Miha made it pretty clear, like that's how it goes. Nobody asked any questions, so it seemed okay. But now that it actually happened, now I can see where people are making, a claim like, hey, like, why doesn't it just go to the judges' wins? New Wave would have, 3-2, exactly. You know what I mean? But that's when we had afterwards, when we all talked about this, the team New Wave wasn't even really going against the decision that B team won off the scorecard situation. They were more upset at the judging of the individual matchups and whether it would be like a 10-8, 10-9. Like they didn't really argue that. I know Gordon is posting about that, but at the time, like speaking to the guys afterwards, they didn't really argue that situation. They kind of agreed with it and said that was okay. At first they were like, what the hell? And they had to bring up the rules and everything. But, we had the rules sitting right there. And then once they read them, they kind of were like, oh, okay, I see that, so they weren't really totally mad about it. I'm sure they're still mad about it, but they weren't totally mad about that. They were more concerned about the actual way that they scored them. But like I said, going over this, man, like I'm not a lawyer, like this would be some like, that's why when you read contracts and they have all this other mumbo jumbo in there that I don't understand what it is, you have to have someone be able to be like, okay, we need to, fix this. And like, I've done a bunch of contracts and different things for like, my business and all that. And I know there's always weird stuff in there that they're like, hey, this could be looked at this way. This could be looked at this way, depending on what a judge says,
Yeah. No, I mean, like, dude, jiu-jitsu is so nuanced and there's so much like up for interpretation just in the jiu-jitsu itself that adding in like an actual legal aspect and like now a lawyer interpretation and judges in like a legal judge interpretation and stuff. It's like, this is such a chaotic situation to be in with like trying to figure out what's actually going on with some of this.
And so I do feel like, just to piggyback on your point, Zach, that a lot of people are saying that maybe potentially Victor Hugo versus Wagner and Ethan versus Dorian could have been scored as 10-8s. Could maybe you tell us why those weren't scored 10-8s, or maybe just from your perspective?
All right, I got off the Wi-Fi. Maybe the Wi-Fi just sucks. Let me just try on my phone. But yeah, adding the legal part into it is crazy. I was thinking like on the plane home, am I going to be called as an expert witness in the first ever jiu-jitsu trial?
You might get called as a defendant.
Well, it's still on the table for sure.
Yeah.
So Zach, just to piggyback off what you're talking about there, and a lot of people I see talking about how maybe they thought that Victor Hugo versus Wagner Rocha should have been scored a 10-8, and Dorian versus Ethan should have been scored, or could have potentially been scored 8s. Could you talk about why those weren't scored 10-8s, maybe just from your perspective? And obviously, I know that you weren't one of the judges on who judged this quintet final, but maybe just from your perspective.
Yeah, for sure. So the Victor Hugo one would have been a 10-8 for sure, but that couldn't be a 10-8 because of the weight discrepancy. So for the scoring, if the athletes are separated by an entire weight category or more, for example, like 66 to 88 or whatever, then it can only be a 10-9. So they had to make sure, we double checked that one, and I was kind of looking at the smooth comp to make sure they had it right. because Victor was like the biggest guy, right, at plus 99.
Yeah.
And Wagner was at 77 or 88.
88.
88. Yeah. So he's more than 2 away. So that can only be a 10-9. And then so he was all over him. I mean, that would clearly be a 10-8 right there. Like that's complete domination throughout the match. Like Wagner really didn't do anything. Victor had a couple of submission attempts on him. So that would be an easy 10-8. But like, they were trying to not take away time. They wanted to make sure the littler guys had to be in there for 8 minutes total. But we couldn't you wouldn't score at a 10-8 if like a smaller guy's just getting mobbed by like a huge guy just laying on him or just, kicking the shit out of him. So like we had to be like, okay, let's keep that a good rule. Again, that's not something I came up with, but I thought that was a good rule.
Because a traditional quintet style, right, is if it is like a mismatch, excuse me, size-wise, they shorten the rounds. Like, I don't know if anybody watching doesn't know that. That's like the traditional. They'll shorten the round so it's not as long of a match with that. But the CJI variation of that is the like guaranteed kind of you can't lose by basically 2 points. So
right, if you survive. And also in regular quintet, I think the smaller athlete can choose. So like I think you can choose for like a 4 or 6 or whatever it is going to be less match. So that's pretty interesting. So so that one's really not like up for debate. That was in there. That should have been would be a 10-8 if it'd be anybody else. But since he's smaller, I mean, I don't nothing against Wagner. I mean, he's huge. Imagine going against a big guy. I don't do weight classes like that. I'm in the smallest. I'll go against 125 guys. You know what I mean? I don't want that. So
that's the only weight difference I want a part of is if I'm the guy who's a 50 pounds heavier.
That never happens to me though. I've never gotten that. I've never gotten that. But so then like the Dorian match, obviously that one's going to be a little bit more contested. But like, so I rewatched that one like 4 or 5 times, and just to make sure. Like that I was gonna give the same score, and I did have it the same as the guys. Now he was definitely all over him in the passing his guard a couple of times. He never, even though it doesn't say this in the rules, but he really didn't get any submission attempts. It doesn't say you need to have submission attempts to get a 10-8. He did have mount, and he tried to like jack up his arm a little bit from, we call it the chopping block, but he was trying to push his arm up looking for an arm triangle or something. Like he's definitely trying to go for stuff. And, the thing is, Ethan keeps moving his defendant. Like, sure, he got his guard passed. He ends up getting his guard back towards, I think with about, maybe close to like 3 minutes here. Right here. He got his guard back. So like, one thing we talked about is like, getting your guard on the bottom like could be defensive, but it could also be very offensive too. Like it could be just recovering guard, but then this right here was really weird, and he had an almost shot at his back. And I know Dorian yelled. I was sitting mat side for it, or pit side or whatever, and I heard him yelp out like that. And then after that, I know Ethan did. I know one of the things that John brought up a whole bunch was Ethan could have been called for stalling for having that body triangle in. The stalling calls, we could talk about that too. But he didn't hold it for the entire 3 minutes. I thought maybe like, okay, if he held a body triangle for the entire 3 minutes, like something should have happened. He should have got a warning or something there, but if he didn't get a point taken away, then whatever. But just this right here and him going for that little knee situation there, I think they had Ethan had an exact term they used for that. So it was a move that he went for. It didn't just accidentally happen. He was trying to dive under his arms, try to get up and take his back. Yeah, right here. Like once he got under that and moved his leg, I mean, it's like just watching that, like we decided like when we were going through all these rules meetings and judge meetings and practicing and watching hours of tape, like if anything happens like that, it's really not a 10-8 round because he didn't just completely dominate him. Now I would say if Dorian would have been able to stand up, pass his guard again, then maybe you're looking at a 10-8. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. If he was able to get like a pretty solid submission attempt, like maybe if he had his back during this too, maybe a 10-8, but it just wasn't completely dominant as opposed to some of those other ones. Like that Victor Hugo match, Like if this was a 10-8, then that one would have had to been like a 10-7. I mean, because he's on his back, he's attempting full RNCs, and it's just not enough to give it a 10-8. And the judges too, so people know, the judges have no idea what the other judges are saying or doing. Like they didn't see any of these scores in this last match until at the end. You can't even see your score once you put it in. Once it's sent in on the iPad, only the guys from Smooth Comp can see it. No one else can see it. So there's 2 screens at the main table where you can look at it. Like when I was sitting out of this one, I was watching those screens, but they didn't even have they were running the actual show. So they weren't looking at the scores all the way through. You could go to another page and look at them, but nobody could see, that they all scored, all 3 of the judges scored it the same. So
could you tell us a little bit more about what information and instruction you were given around what qualifies as a 10-8? You talked about it a little bit there. Yeah. You're looking for thorough domination, but what was said to the judges around this is what we think a 10-8 is?
Yeah. So in any judging, you got to figure it's going to be, there's, with any judge, MMA, just anything you're judging, there's going to be some type of, interpretation for the actual judge. That's why they're judges. And that's why there's 3 of them and not 2 or 1, so that way 3 guys who have studied this can try to work towards like, okay, we want to try to all see the same thing. So we're all on the same page, which they did, you know what I mean? But that's why you usually have 3. So in case someone sees it a different way, you want to be able to explain why most of the judges are on the same page. Right. So, for a 10-8, I'm looking for where it says the exact words in here. But it says mainly it was to get a 10-8, you would have to be completely dominant for the majority of the round, right? I don't know if it says entire round in the actual rules. I was trying to look it up to make sure. But you would have to pretty much dominate the guy throughout the entire thing. So like, not that this means anything, but in the finishers, we had a rule, we called it the mollywomp rule, because guys were kind of stalling out for EBIOTs, where if you could just survive and then you get to the OTs, you get a couple of shots at the back. So we started the mollywomp. That was like, if someone just, basically ran a guy over, they took him down, or if the guy pulled guard, they passed his guard, they got mount, they got side control, they went for a submission, they passed his, they stood up and they passed his guard again. And, that's really what we're looking for. Like that's what we talked about. It was like, it's got to be like a blowout basically, and I just don't feel that Dorian versus Ethan match was a complete blowout. Like Ethan got his guard back. He tweaked his knee on that one thing. Like he was trying to go for some things in the beginning, although Dorian, pretty much whooped his butt. Like if it would have been points, he would have won on points, but neither of those is the criteria. The criteria was, here it is. A round is recorded as a 10-8 when an athlete is overwhelmingly dominant throughout the round. So for us, it was also too, like if the guy does one thing, or if he has any kind of recovery and any kind of, offensive movement, whether it be small, it's probably not going to be a 10-8. It's probably going to be a 10-9,
Yeah. So that really was kind of probably one of the more deciding moments in all of it, was Ethan kind of got his guard. And then I like you kind of mentioned, does a guy just get his guard back? Does he like use it? Does he retain whatever? I mean, in that moment, not once Ethan locked the body triangle, but in that first, when he closes the guard, he is using it super actively. Like he's just constantly like trying to go for like a muscle sweep or something, and then turns it into that weird. I mean,
really takes the back.
It's almost like a hip lock or something. I don't know. That's like kind of a
People
wild.
We're gonna be trying that in the gym, I feel like.
And to be honest with you, like
not on me.
Dorian, Dorian does audibly yell or something. You heard it on the mat, and my first thought was, holy shit. If they stop this, we're about to have another crazy, like, did he tap situation? Like, was that technically a verbal tap? So it's like, there was something there for sure, Then the next thing, I guess, moving on from that I want to ask about is just like the general rules of like who's doing better or not. I heard someone talking about this. One of the biggest things, right, is initiation of action or initiation of action that leads to impactful something or other. Is that like the what the main thing when you're looking at action is like based on?
Yeah,
not just initiation, but like impactful stuff from the initiation.
Exactly. Yeah. Did something happen off that initial initiation? Like, we wanted to make sure that if you're like doing a cartwheel, or you're just like grabbing the guy's leg. Like that's, and then it's technically by definition an initiation. Like you initiated the action, but it wasn't effective. Like just doing a cartwheel, and running around the side and touching the guy isn't really effective. But if you do a cartwheel and then dive into side control, if you do a cartwheel and then throw the guy's legs and try to take his back, even if you don't get his back, that's initiating some kind of effective movement that had to make the other guy couldn't just lay there. He had to like react to that situation, whatever happened, whatever you just did, he had to react to it, so and one thing we want to make sure is like, look, there's new moves coming up and there's stuff that people do that we may not recognize as like an exact move that we drill or practice, where it's like when the guy stands up, I grab under his leg and bend his knee the other way. Like I've never really done that before. But weird shit happens. And when it does happen, I mean, we can't say like he didn't go for that on purpose, because some guys are saying like that's not a real move or that's not a real thing. And I'm like, well, I don't know what's a real move and a real thing. I mean, he went for that. Like he clearly stuck his arm under there and made him move over, and it caused a reaction. He almost got his back. He almost took the guy's back from it. So it's kind of, he initiated that, and it made him move. It made him work. And that's probably right there. That one little move, like if Dorian would have stood up and broke his guard during that or before that, then we wouldn't be talking about it. But since he did, that's something that the judges have to consider. And they're like, hey, he did make an offensive movement. He kind of stifled him there a little bit. So that's what I feel, I did speak with him, but that's what I feel moved it from a 10-8 to a 10-9, that little move right there.
Definitely. And so you mentioned the stalling a little bit earlier, and I honestly just have like a couple more rules things, and then I do just want to talk about some of the jiu-jitsu with you, because I know you're a fan of the jiu-jitsu and everything too. So we'll definitely get into that and just talk about everything that went on throughout the event. But the stalling stuff, obviously a big difference in stalling between day one and day two. I mean, ultimately, I think it ended up with about the same amount of submissions on each day, but it was just like we saw actual stalling penalties be called and everything. I'm just curious on your thoughts overall on the stalling throughout the event and like how it was like refereed on the mat.
Yeah. Now, for me, I would have called way more stalling calls, if I was the ref. But I'm the judge, so I didn't have nothing to do with that. But like, had it been up to me, like I would have been, really, calling those guys and telling them like, action top, action bottom, like, come on, somebody's got to move. Someone's got to go for something. I think an original idea that we had that might've been just too hard to implement, where the judges were going to have like a button to press and something would like light up red. And then it would like let the referee know, like the judges need something to judge, like nothing's happening here. No one's going for anything. So, I feel like maybe that could have been instituted a little bit better. I feel like, in Japan, in the quintet, I mean, you guys have seen those Shidos are coming out like that.
Yeah.
They're calling Shido every 5 seconds. I know when Grace was in it, they would have her like, she was just about to pass guard and they called her on Shido. Like they were like calling people from positions and putting them out of stuff. I didn't really want that, because, as a purist, you want to let stuff go until someone makes something happen. But if you're running a show and people are watching and we want to keep the show moving, like I think more stalling calls could have definitely been called. It's kind of tough. Like, Big John, who's the man, and Tyler, they're MMA refs. Like, not that they don't know jiu-jitsu, because obviously they have years and years and years experience, but, maybe someone who's a little bit more involved in like the leg lock nuances and some of the stuff that's going on, like would know more like, hey, this guy's kind of stalling here. Some of the full guard moments where the guy in full guard is doing nothing, that could have been pushed a little bit more. So I think there, obviously hindsight's 2020, but there are times when, I think we could have made the guys push the pace a little bit more. That being said, I know how hard it is being a ref when you're in there like, I don't want to make these guys move. You know what I mean? Someone's going to be mad every time there's a reset. Now, I don't know who said this, but they always say someone loses on a reset. Like if you got to reset them, even though the wall is there, or like if you got to start them over, it's like, dude, I was just about to pass. You know what I mean? I was just about to pass. And then they reset it and it was whatever. So, I mean, obviously, I'm sure you guys, I shared it on my Instagram, but I'm sure you guys saw me taking an ear beating from Andre Galvao, one of the best of all time. Like, I have a ton of respect for all these guys too. So anything I say, I hope they realize like I'm not trying to, take anybody down or anything like that. Like Andre's the man, but look, for $1 million, he was pissed. You know what I mean? He didn't like that reset. And to be honest, I didn't like that reset either. I think if you were going to reset them, it should have been done like earlier than that. Like he kind of chose to reset them or take a point away right when Mika opened up his guard, and was about to go K guard, probably enter the legs. And I felt like, Lucas was about to just smash his leg and he had him up against the pit wall. So, I mean, it's like kind of tough. It's like, man, when do I reset them? Like the wall is there for a reason. People are going to use them and jam them up against it, but you just can't sit there forever. And they were warned. So like, it's not totally, I know people outside can't hear this, but he did warn them both like, hey, nothing's happening. Someone's got to do something. And he just decided that the top guy was stalling, I guess, because he was just ramming his head into him from guard. So I didn't like the reset. I would have let him, keep going, because what happened there is taking a point away from Lucas ended up making that a 10-9 because he was winning the whole entire match, so
yeah,
that was tough.
That's one too where you kind of mentioned as a judge you have to take away the aspect of like what you think could happen, and like obviously we know these guys pretty well. We know their game, so we know the potential of like what's coming in some of these exchanges. And I feel like I don't know how much the referee also has to kind of make that interpretation. And obviously Big John, a legend of the refereeing game and stuff, but like I mean, I feel comfortable saying like he doesn't know Mika or Lucas Hulk Barbosa's game as well as a diehard jiu-jitsu guy. And that is one of those things where it's like you said, Mika opens his guard and it's kind of like, well, dude, Mika can armbar anybody from anywhere. And like even with Hulk just like shoving the crown of his head into Mika's jaw, pinning him against the pit, I was kind of like, oh shit, okay, now we could potentially see a flash armbar from Mika and this could get crazy quick, But it's like, yeah, in the moment, I guess it's hard. These dudes are also getting the pressure of like Craig's now announced that it's like, this shit's whack. Like you guys got to start going for shit all the time. There's $50K for a sub bonus now, So it's like all that impact makes a huge difference when you're the referee and you're kind of being told like, no, we got to keep these guys on it. But then the overarching thing too that I wanted to touch on is the quintet, like their approach to just aggressively calling the stalling. And I think the quintet style has kind of gotten some strays throughout this, and people have kind of like turned on quintet a little bit, it feels like, and been like, oh, this is actually a boring rule set and all this. And like, I love quintet. I'm a huge quintet fan. I've always thought it's one of the most fun jiu-jitsu styles to watch and everything. But with the lack of like implementing stalling calls early on, especially in day one, it is a gameable rule set, You send Wagner out there for a reason because it's like this dude is tough as nails. This dude got his tooth knocked out and still just like kept going like nothing. It's like he can stall out a big guy if he needs to. And it's like, I mean, I don't want to say like stall out in a negative way. It's just like he had his marching orders. Yeah, he had his marching orders. Like go out there, knock out a big dude who can cause big problems for our team, and then let's send out Giancarlo next to like get a sub. It's like that's a tried and true way of winning this rule set. So if you take away any stalling calls, it's like now it's super gameable. Like it's like you got to avoid that. So it's like there did need to be more of that kind of consistently throughout, in my opinion. And I mean, obviously it was adjusted on day 2, and that now makes a weird dynamic where it's like, what the hell, bro? You just screwed us. But it's like, well, maybe this should have been happening from the start. To be honest, kind of is a bit of the situation. I don't know if I was going anywhere with that. I guess I just wanted to get my takes off there. But
I have a take. You're exactly right. If I may. Sorry, Zach, please.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I was going to say maybe we need to rename stalling calls, because saying somebody's stalling, it does kind of feel like a value judgment on them sometimes and like how they fight. Maybe we just need nothing's happening calls.
Yeah.
You got hit with a nothing's happening call, bro.
I like that what you were saying about like the judges can say like, I don't have something to judge, like, because that's the real thing that's going on. Is like there's nothing judgeable. It's almost like, dude, freaking drop the America's Got Talent style, 3 X's. If all 3 judges throw their X finally, then it's like, boom, okay, we got to reset. These dudes literally have nothing that they can decide based on what we're seeing. So I don't know, something like that could be a move, to be honest.
Yeah, that was the original idea. They were going to have like a light at every judge's table where you could just press it and be like, dude, what is happening? There's nothing going on. Like, I don't even know who to choose, and that's what we try to tell the coaches and the guys in the meetings was like, don't be mad if the judge's decision doesn't go your way, if you didn't do anything. And we were, you know what I mean? We were telling you like, you have to give us something to judge, or it's going to be controversial, because people are, each guy's going to be like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I guess like give it to this guy. Cause we didn't want to have to be judging like collar ties, You know what I mean? And like, who's doing the better hand fighting from standing? Like, give us something to judge. Right after that, like people were taking videos. I'm sure some good pictures of Andre yelling at me. He's yelling at me because he was asking, but people think he was mad at me, but he really wasn't. He was mad at the referee, and he was like yelling at me, like, dude, what is going on with this guy? He's screwing us and everything. And I didn't want to in the moment be like, dude, I kind of agree. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't like that call, but what can I say? I just try to apologize to him and everything.
Dude, so. Andre obviously very upset in the moment, but Andre's also a guy who just like, dude, he's in his role. He's the coach, so it's like he's going to fight no matter what to be like, this is bullshit.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's like
I would have been doing the same thing.
100%.
I would have been doing the same thing.
So it's like kind of like that's another thing where as a fan, when you're watching, it's easy to like start casting judgment and be like, what's Andre crying about? What's this guy mad about? Why are they mad about this reset? But it's like everyone's there playing their role. The judges are doing what judges are supposed to do. The referees doing what referees are supposed to do to the best of their ability. Like freaking athletes doing their best, and then the coaches got to do their best. And it's like that's what coaches are for. They're there to say like, no, dude, that reset is wrong. Like even if it's IBJJF and they're like, no, do not start the match. He had the grip on the left collar. It was 2 inches higher than you guys are giving it to him. Like adjust it right now, So it's like they're all playing their role in this greater thing. But I want to say too, man, Zach, isn't jiu-jitsu at its best whenever we just see pure jiu-jitsu, two dudes doing sick shit and no referee has to step in, nothing, and then we just see a submission? It's so much easier, so much nicer.
Dude, yeah, even reffing it when I reffed all the EBI matches, I'd be like, please, let's just someone sub the other guy so we don't have to deal with this OT because I know how crazy it's going to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, look, the guys are trying to win. Like anybody out there saying like, oh, the coach is this or the guy's that, like they want to win. The main objective is to win, and whatever the rules are, the rules are. Like if you throw, like I know I do this, I've done this and I know people do it, but if you just throw caution in the wind and go out there and just lose because you didn't strategize for this, that's a big mistake, So
definitely, especially when the stakes are so high. Not just $1 million, but like you're representing your team, It's like Team Atos wants to be the best team in jiu-jitsu. New Wave, B Team, they all want to be legitimately, at the end of this, they want to say like, we are the best team. Like it has like a greater impact than just like, oh, we won $1 million. Like, no, the team that can walk away and say genuinely like, we have the best team, that makes such a big impact on like people's careers, like entire teams' careers and stuff, So obviously those stakes are unreal. But I don't know if you guys had any like last little kind of rules thing. But then I just want to talk about some of the jiu-jitsu with you, Zach. If you want to switch over from
it was definitely the end of the night. It was controversial. It's wild. We're gonna be talking about it here for the next 6 months. I think we did pretty good talking about it here. I'm sure we'll have more. Go ahead. Actually,
I want to talk about just two more things about the judging thing, because I think this might help people too, because I know they'll be like, what about the Nicky Rod match? So because I know that was the other one that the New Wave guys were really upset about. They said that if the Dorian match is a 10-9, then how can the Nicky Rod versus Luke be a 10-8? So, and what I think happened there was, I think they thought they were up. You know what I mean? Like maybe Nicky Rod did just, house him for most of this match. But, in the beginning here, like, dude, as for from what I saw and when I rewatched it, I probably would have gave it a 10-8 as well. They were just clubbing each other here from standing. Like nobody really got anything good. I mean, Nicky Rod got the better attempts. Like he was at least going for some single legs. And then I know it's not till like maybe it might even be 4 minutes left or whatever, he finally gets the takedown. But the difference between this match and the other match was Luke really didn't do anything offensive. The only thing, and I was nitpicking it too, like I was back there just taking little marks and everything like that. Like, did he do this? Did he do that? There's at one point Luke kind of tries to throw up a buggy choke, but it's not really anything significant, and then once he passed his guard here, he never really got it back. So like 4 minutes and 30 seconds of pure domination. He really didn't get his guard back. He didn't get really any subs. And, at the end, Nicky Rod was going for like an anaconda kind of, but he didn't really have his arm across. And again, one of the things they were trying to say, like, well, you've never seen, John said, like, you've never seen anyone get submitted like that. But again, I can't judge whether a guy's gonna, like, here he kind of threw it up, but that wasn't really significant enough to change it back. Now I would say if Luke got his guard back or got back to half guard and then back to butterfly, you know what I mean, and maybe went for a sweep and stood back up or something, then you're probably looking at a 10-9. But in my mind, once that takedown happens, I mean, I'm waiting to see, like, does Luke do anything else here? Or is this just going to be, you know, him surviving, you know? And then when it comes to the stalling too, like, I think, this is just my own opinion, I think we should be calling stalling on the guy on the bottom, you know, the guy who's on defense sometimes, because that makes it more exciting. Because a guy on bottom, if he doesn't have to get up here or if he doesn't have to turtle, like, good luck getting his back, especially like a super high level guy. So I think right here, the ref should be like, you know, Big John could be like, come on, Luke, let's go. You got to work, you know, like, you're in the disadvantaged position. You should have to make that move. Like, Nicky Rod's trying to move. It's not like he's just holding him, you know? So, you know, I don't know if I would have said it right there, maybe, but I think, you know, me and BMAC were talking about this. Like, I think that's one rule for, like, you know, in the nothing's happening realm, where, like, hey, bottom guy, like, you're not doing anything here. He's trying to recover a little bit, you know, but really he didn't do much.
He kind of throws the leg back over here in a little bit, I think, like, kind of like that, the way Roberto took Roosevelt Souza's back in Nogi Worlds in the absolute one time. I thought Luke did that, but I can't remember.
Yeah.
That was like, that and the kind of quick buggy choke is the only thing I really remember. I don't remember much.
He reguards with maybe like 10 seconds left. Right after the arm triangle variation attempt. But yeah, it was very, very.
He goes for like an Americana or something, I feel like.
Luke did?
Nicky Rod.
Nicky Rod did,
and then that's when Luke gets his guard back.
Yeah. It was real late, and he was just trying to, you know, put anything on it.
Yeah, and I feel like that too is the guard recovery there from Luke is a reaction to a submission attempt. Yeah. So it's not like he, you know what I mean? He just recovered here. He was like getting it. Like, if you go for a sub and you lose the position, like, we're rewarding the guy who went for the sub. You know what I mean? Now, if he went for it and the guy on bottom recovered and swept him, I mean, obviously then that exchange is won by the guy on the bottom, even though the guy on top initiated it. You know what I mean? So it's like kind of who wins it, but then also too, if it's nothing happens. I mean, right here you're saying, right?
Yeah, this is what
he
I was
almost had
about.
it. Yeah,
but I don't even know
also,
about almost, but just
choke.
like, you know, he was doing something there.
Yeah.
But
yeah, and they were like that. No one's ever tapped to that. I'm like, yeah, but I mean, you know, he could have turned that to a north-south. I mean, here he mounts him. He's trying to go for a triangle. I mean, I could see in both of these cases, like, it's not like cut and dry. I could see a 10. Yeah, or he went for the triangle. Yeah. I could see a 10-9, you know what I mean? But I also agree this could be a 10-8. I mean, he really didn't have anything. You know what I mean? He really didn't have any offensive technique whatsoever, you know, except for, like I said, maybe the buggy choke. But other than that, it was like, you know, not too much. So I felt like that could have been warranted a 10-8. I mean, obviously, you know, that's why there's 3 judges, but it's just weird how they all judged it the same and it all ended up a 47-47, which was pretty crazy. So
super crazy. What was the other thing? You said you had 2 more. There was.
Oh yeah. And the last one is, you know, like, I did hear complaints about this on day one from after day one, but it was like, you know, things go so fast. It's like, it felt like day one was like 3 weeks ago already, you know, with what happened day 2. But the Adele versus Helena match, you know, people brought that up a lot and they were like, they're screwing New Wave or whatever. And I mean, really, you know, Adele thinks she got screwed too. So, I mean, every time someone loses on the, you know, judges thing, it's like, you know, maybe they got screwed. I'm not saying that Adele said this or you know, New Wave said this, but I'm saying that people are saying that, you know, they're like, she got screwed, you know what I mean? And now the difference between this match and the one that Adele had on UFC Fight Pass, I mean, UFC's got a different criteria. You know, I don't know what their criteria is. So, like, maybe Mia could speak better to that. But I mean, I had Adele win in all 3 rounds of that UFC one, because I went back and rejudged. I fell asleep. I went back and rejudged it like myself, and I had Adele win in all 3 against Fiona. I don't know how they gave Fiona round 2. I have no idea. That one boggles my mind because she got her foot popped and everything. Now, look, these. Like for these right here, like, so people are like, oh, Adele's feet are she would never tap to that. I mean, but I'm not judging whether she would never tap to that or not. You know what I mean? I can only judge to the fact that she's not scoring at that time and Helena is scoring, you know? So, I mean, it looked like to me, she's initiating most of the pass attempts. She got some, you know, really good, leg attacks that like some of them we didn't count as much, but a lot of them we did count because like they're pretty good attacks. Like she had her foot and at least Adele had to get on her head. Like that one right there, it's an attempt, but it's not weighted too heavy. The ones where she had to get on her head and roll to escape, those are legitimate attacks, even if she would never tap to it, So, and I think we were in unison on this one. The judges, there may have been one round that they switched up, but I think we all gave it to Helena. So it was a unanimous decision. So when people say like it was a controversial decision, it's really only controversial in their mind because, the judges all saw it as one way, So
that's one of the biggest points I feel like, and maybe I didn't even realize this, or at least really think about it until you brought that up, is the whole thing of like taking away the bias of like knowing athletes and knowing what people tap and don't tap to or whatever, and it's like, well, you can't judge based on that. It's like that's incorporating a little bit more of like an opinion thing where it's like, all right, I know Adele well, she would never tap to that, or whatever. It's like, well, you can't really do that, you got to be like, just see it for what it is, like not adding in sort of any sort of interpretation of that. It's just like, no, we just saw her go on the leg and it's like she has the leg. Adele reacts. It kind of goes back to like initiation that has impactful action. It's like, well, she did react to it, so it's like impactful action. So I think
if we were to do that, we could name 100 examples of like that guy would never tap to an armbar, or that guy would never tap. I can find you video if you want. Yeah.
But
yeah, it's tough. And then like, some of those ones where you like just ripping a steam lock or something and the guy's never going to tap to it and he doesn't even react to it. It's like, all right, that doesn't really count. It's kind of your initiating action, but it wasn't effective. But the other ones though, like some of those were like those Aoki locks were definitely deep. And round day 2, she, beat Sarah Gaval with the Aoki lock. So, I mean, that's her thing. She was going for those, but like I said, if she's reacting to it, she's having a roll on her head, she for sure is defending that. So, again, unbiased opinion by all these judges. None of them have anything to do with B Team or New Wave. Like I didn't really care who won, to be honest with you. Deep down, I would love to see 10th Planet win.
There is no actual bias going on. If anything, you are 10th Planet and would have loved to see them do well and all that. But, yeah, I don't know. I know people have thrown that out there like, oh, this is biased judging, all that. But it's like, I don't think that's true, right? I mean, there's no.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, like J-Flow, like he's not affiliated with any team. Like none of us have anything to do with B Team or New Wave or any of the teams. I mean, last one, I thought Lachlan Giles would want me dead. You know what I mean? So it's like, we're putting, believe me, it's awesome for me. It's a huge opportunity, but we are putting our reputations on the line that knowing that people are going to be mad, athletes are going to be pissed, and I have a great relationship with all the athletes there. Like I've, known a lot of these guys for years, so I don't want to piss anyone off or, I don't want to take money away from anyone. I know how bad that would suck to, feel like you got screwed out of a lot of money. So especially like how hard everybody works. Like, so that's why I wasn't upset with anyone yelling at me or, coming up to me or like wanting to talk about it. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, I feel like it's put everything out there. That's huge. And in the end, like Miha, he did a great job. He's from Legion, has nothing to do with B Team or New Wave. And Jaron, to be honest with you, the other judge, like he's an MMA judge and he needed the pictures of all the guys. Like he didn't even know who the guys were. You know what I mean? Like he needed these pictures to show the guys. He was like, hey, can you tell me which guys were when we were rewatching the CJI 1 matches, he was like, can you tell me which guys were Tolo? I'm like, oh, perfect. This guy doesn't know anybody. He's going to judge it flat out. You know what I mean? Yeah. Whoever wins, wins. So
a funny Ruotolo thing real quick. We like, obviously Flow Sports is the bigger company that like is FloGrappling, and so we have like, we're the FloGrappling team, we're the experts in grappling, all of that, and then we have like different departments that aren't as hip to the grappling scene. And one time they were like, can you show us which of these is Cade Ruotolo? And we were kind of like, well, luckily for you, Cade Ruotolo has an identical twin brother and is still the most recognizable face in all of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how this dude has an identical twin and yet is still the easiest to recognize. But yeah.
It's got to be the hair or something.
For sure.
Oh, yes. Speaking of the hair, what do you guys think about that? I think that the hair gate or whatever they were calling it, Helena versus Adele, you can't have your hair in pigtails like that in people's face. It's like wearing a big, like oversized white Miller Lite t-shirt and it's all sweaty and it's like in my face the whole time. I can't breathe, so that was kind of messed up. I don't think, no malice. She didn't do that on purpose. She was just doing a different hairstyle because, the women, they always do that. It's like a big tournament, dye their hair. Craig Jones dyes his hair, has it up in a bun or like cornrows or something like that. Yeah. So I don't think she did it on purpose. She just got long ass hair. It needs to be cut or put like in a
that. And that's like her brand too, is like the kind of like, the all matching kind of onesie style rash guard and pigtails is like, that is her brand. So it's like, I 100% recognize why Helena would stay true to that. But I guess I'll pass it to Reed as the long hair expert. I roll with Reed a lot. And it's like, dude, this guy's always putting his hair in my face. I swear, dude, if Reed had a buzz cut, I'd mop the floor with him, Zach, but he doesn't. He's got this long hair that changes everything.
Yeah, for real, man. I'm trying to cancel everybody with long hair. Long hair people can do jiu-jitsu too. Like, what's up with that?
That's true.
Yeah. Reed's just like, he's anti all the bald purple belts out there, these masters purple belts. He's like, man, no, get rid of those. Yeah, exactly, Zach. So we got to band together. I might shave my head just to stand with everybody here, That's the real controversy. Let's stand up against long hair guys doing jiu-jitsu.
No. Yeah. No,
for me.
They came and asked me for my hair tie in the middle of that match.
Did they really?
Yeah. So it was my hair tie.
Is that true? I had no idea.
Yeah. That's so funny. They came over looking for a hair tie. They're like, this guy looks like he's got a hair tie. So.
You want to talk about bias?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I do think moving forward, especially like when there's so much on the line like this, and shout out to Helena, incredible accomplishment, $100,000 winning the women's bracket.
A submission too.
A submission in the finals, unreal. But it does feel like you're probably going to have to like have some kind of solution where it's not in people's faces. And that goes for the guys too.
Adam.
Cade at CJI 1. A lot of Cade with his afro in people's faces. It feels like, it might just be like this little blind spot going on that people, in these big money tournaments. It's like, no, man, get that shit under control.
I come in super stinky to stuff. So I don't know if that's the next step is like, well, I'm not allowed to be stinky anymore,
Yeah, some people stank, but that's usually when they do in UFC, when they have the guy do the thing and they got to like, go through them and check them and stuff. That's when they should be like, hey, you know what I mean? Like, you got to put that hair up or something like that.
Definitely. But, Zach, we appreciate all the rules breakdown and everything for sure, dude. Yeah. I think that's going to add a lot of clarity. At least people will have justification for, like, why some of this happened and all that. So hopefully everyone can appreciate that. I'm sure the commenters aren't going to go off and, be all upset about it.
Everybody's going to be satisfied.
Yeah. But,
oh, yeah.
But, so now I just want to talk about some of the jiu-jitsu, bro, because I know you love jiu-jitsu. Like, you watch more jiu-jitsu than probably most people out there. Was there any big takeaways, any key moments, or people that you thought came away from this with like some of the best performances or really breaking out and kind of like solidifying themselves on the jiu-jitsu scene from this?
Yeah, I mean, dude, I think my most impressive performance has got to be Dorian. Just talking about him being able to take on, obviously the Ethan match, he was great, but being able to take on the bigger guys, like, I don't even think that really makes sense to me how he's able to do that. Like, I mean, I've stood next to him many times. I mean, he's not like an overly huge guy. He's small.
Yeah.
And the way he's able to just run through people, like bigger guys like that, like, I know he's got the gas tank and shit and stuff, but like, how could he just like pick up singles and take these guys down and just ghost past their guard? And it's crazy. There's a couple guys out there like that are small like that, but that are very exciting. But I feel like if they just get in there with a bigger guy, at some point he's going to get, squashed or choked out or something, what I mean? And I was just like, man, like, look at these. Like, how is he able to, dude, I couldn't take any big guy. Like, they'd be like, get off me, and he's like, I think he's probably lighter than I am. So I think that had to be,
It would turn into, like, if I had to take on a dude the size of Felipe Pena, it would turn into a Royal Rumble style match, and they would throw me out of the pit, and I would just walk to the back. I'd be like, all right, that's that. But so one thing I want to point out, this is a testament to John Danaher here. I think John Danaher, obviously one of the greatest coaches ever, like arguably the best. Yeah. And he climbs up the wall on him. Like, Dorian's just absolute dog, bro. It's like, thinking about trials, it's like, bro, a guy like Dorian, when it comes to the gauntlet of ADCC trials, it's like just such a dog, it's like incredible performance by him. But it's like to have Philippe come out and just be like, nah, I'm getting 50K, I'm submitting Luke, and just kind of went all out on it. And then John to be like, all right, well, Felipe's going to be a little tired after that. Let's send out Dorian, and just like let him just cause mayhem for 8 minutes. And just like, I mean, obviously John knew he would be an unrelenting pace and just like really bring it to Dorian. I don't think Dorian's scared of anything if I had to guess. And so like, I thought that was a great call. Like that was like, man, good move there. Like just, you send out your tiny dude to, not tiny like that, but in the smallest weight classes, the smallest guy to take on Atos's biggest dude, the wild card that they brought in for this, it's like, it's a bold move, but it was the right move,
Here's a crazy stat on Dorian right now. Counting this as a win, which like I know it's a double elimination, but still considering the scorecard, obviously this probably would have been a 10-8, right? I would guess. Dorian has beaten the top 2 ranked heavyweights in the world. Yeah. Him and Felipe and Luke.
Yeah.
Outrageous. Look, he almost gets us back. I mean, like crazy. So then the cool thing about all this too is I start thinking, even when I'm watching these matches, I start thinking, I'm like, man, like how would I even like attempt to beat this guy, or how would I coach a guy to do anything to this dude? And I think what Ethan did to him, I think is probably the maybe not the answer, but I mean, obviously it's like, get his back, good luck, but I think to like shut down some of these outside passer guys, or at least slow them down a little bit, people are going to have to start going back to getting full guard. Because if not, like playing your spinning around through them and like, maybe having enough energy to come up on a single, but how are you going to come up on a single or wrestle up on this guy? Like not going to happen. Yeah. So I think I think full guard is going to make a comeback, or at least it might have to, you got to you got to get him in there. That's the only spot you're going to be able to hold him for a little bit, and to be able to like, maybe try a sweep from full guard, or try to enter the legs from full guard, which a lot of guys do. Because like, other than that, I mean, good luck with this. I mean, what are you going to do? How long can you do this? Yeah. He can do it longer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, name a time, he'll do another minute and he's going to get you.
Yeah, I mean, with Dorian, bro, it's like name a time and he'll just double that and then just do another match after for fun.
Yeah, he's dragging him out of the corner, So it's like, so for instance, like
it's
maybe remember
so crazy.
Yeah. Remember I was saying how like you should be maybe I mean, he's really working him here, but maybe we should be like stalling calling the bottom guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because he's just surviving, like we'll be like action bottom,
Definitely.
What are you doing? Like, I know he's tired and he's just trying to survive, and I'd be dead by now. But I mean, that's, if you want to make it more exciting, I mean, you need to be calling that guy for like, dude, you need to attempt something, or we're just going to take a point away and you're losing the match. But yeah, and then I think so that was crazy. Him climbing on the wall like Spider-Man, that was insane.
Yeah, the best use of the wall for sure. Just like climbing up it, running around it. Like I was like, dang, dude, the wall was built for Dorian. I was hoping he would just start the match and do like 3 quick laps, only touching the wall, like a Ninja Warrior
jump
style.
Around it.
What is this dude's internal monologue? Like, what must that be like? Just go, go,
Kill.
go,
Yeah.
go, go,
Smash.
go, 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 go.
Yeah. I don't think I could concentrate for that long. Same with the like the match between Lucas and the match you brought up earlier, who was Lucas Kennard and Chris Wojcik. Yeah, like I don't think I can concentrate that long. Like every time you have to move, he moves his leg, you got to keep moving your leg, and then you move yours, he moves. It's like, dude, after a while, it's like the 50th time that happens, I'm like, all right, you got it. You know what I mean?
Let's figure out the next position.
Yeah, breaks concentration. I know that does stink about the 8 minutes, only 8 minutes, because like some of those matches, like, to tap another guy that's that good, you might need 15 minutes if you're both going for it, you know what I mean? Or you might need, 3 5s to try to figure this guy out. That's the one thing that I think people don't realize too about just that, or I'm sure some people do, but just about the 8 minutes, it's only 8 minutes. There's no chance to like take a minute break and like strategize with your coach and be like, oh, hey, we got to do this now, or we should try this. Like that's not working, So I think that changed it a bit too. And then I would say the other match that I didn't get a chance to go watch it again because I was judging it, but I wanted to go watch it again, was Mika versus DeAndre. I think that was a really interesting match. because Mika obviously is Mika, and DeAndre is, I shouldn't say he's on the come up because he's already so good, but I think he's really coming into like an interesting game to where like he can get up on top of people, like he can wrestle so good. He had him in front headlock there, and he's like mixing in fakes and leg locks, and when you can do all that kind of stuff now, I felt like they kind of like DeAndre might be a little bit smaller in the back area, but like for the most part, I mean, those guys were like kind of the same. I thought that was a really sick match.
Yeah, that was definitely a sick one. DeAndre looked great for sure.
Yeah, and he wanted that match too. So I was like, oh damn, here you go. He got it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Look at, he's like, he was doing great work in this. And then they were both they were almost kind of like they were both hitting like those row drags, you know what I mean, on each other. And
Mika I think goes for this like knee bar right here. Did you think this was like on?
I mean, I've seen, again, this is another time where I've seen DeAndre eat knee bars. He's got really strong legs, but I mean, I didn't think he was going to tap from it just because I've seen him eat leg locks in that, like one time in that one team thing we did in Florida where it was like the finishers versus Sapaterio versus like whoever, Midwest finishers, like Kieran Kirchuk had DeAndre in a really deep, like probably one of the deepest knee bars I've ever seen besides the ones where the guy's knee broke. Like when in ADCC when it happened to Meow Brothers, but I mean, he had him full blast and he didn't tap to it and he got out of it. And I was like, damn. But I mean, obviously judging this, I mean, you have to score that because that's it seems like a deep submission attempt. Even though I know he probably wouldn't, I doubt he would tap to that. I mean, but you never know though. I mean, Mika's legs are so like, look at those horse legs, bro. Like, how did he not break his knee with that shit? It's crazy.
Definitely.
Because if my knee is extended, my leg is extended like that at all, I'm tapping before it even gets to that point.
For sure.
Yeah, those, what do they call that? A dog bar or something? Like those
dog bar. Big Dan. I'm banning that Big Dan will slap a dog bar on people sometimes, and that's always oh Jesus, bro. Like a guy that big.
Yeah, it should be illegal.
Yeah. That's illegal.
Yeah, be like, dude, you can't do that. I'm calling the cops.
The other dude that I kind of wanted to bring up that I think Declan Moody, I think had some of the sickest jiu-jitsu, insane passing. To be honest, like from this, there's a lot of dudes who stood out to me as like, wow, that was incredible. Like Giancarlo is one also where I'm just like, oh shit, dude, Giancarlo is that guy, But Declan, like he might be one of my favorite grapplers to watch now from this. Like it's just so sick watching Declan pass. And I know it's like he had to fight Ethan. That's a little weird, kind of sucked. Big weight difference, teammates, all that. But like the passing in that was crazy. Like all of his matches, he just had such unreal passing that I was like, dude, Declan is amazing to watch, especially to watch a big guy who kind of passes so relentlessly and all that. Like I was high on Declan after all this. But
yeah, so many matches, so many guys did so much awesome stuff. And like, I don't want to like take anything away from some of the other guys like Giancarlo. Like we didn't mention him, but I mean, he's obviously like, you just kind of expected that he's going to murk a bunch of guys in this, the Declan Moody. I mean, I've known about him for a while, but like, I think I just didn't realize how good he was.
Yeah.
Like he's so good. Like his passing is so good. And he has really good leg locks too. You're like, sometimes those passing guys that are bigger like that have a harder time passing against a guy like Ryan Aiken, who's got really good leg attacks. And you're like, damn, he's got good leg attacks too. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, that was a crazy match watching those two guys go at it. And, I'm trying to think who else. There's so many good matches. I just couldn't believe that Dorian was able to take it to guys like that. That's pretty impressive. Being a smaller guy and knowing like I can't take anyone down my own weight, let alone bigger guys. So crazy.
How about Chael Craig?
Oh yeah, that was two different variations of buggy chokes. Really, I mean that first one, I got to watch that again. Was that even a real? What was that? Like, that's not a traditional, that's not how Renee does it.
It's not how Renee does it. People are doing this other one, where it's almost like a wrestling headlock with the head and arm facing away,
Yeah, that's so like back in the day, we had a couple guys like Jeremiah Vance and, Ben Eddy used to do it a little bit. Like when you would get side control on them, they would put that forearm in your neck and then triangle their legs. I forget what they were calling that, but that would like, it like made my neck sound like bubble wrap one time. It was like, I was like, all right, I can never get caught in that shit again. But this doesn't seem like it's even hurt. I mean, I'm sure it hurts your neck, but it looks like, look at that. Like his arm's on the other side there, So I was looking at that. I was like, what? he went to sleep from that. Again, that's like another thing where it's like me watching that is be like, Dad, you don't got that. You know what I mean? Like, hey, that's not deep. Like he's in side control, but like he literally passed out. My wife fell asleep and I made her watch it. And she was like, that was fake. I was like, no, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. You know, it's so fake. It's so real. It looks fake. I don't know.
Yeah.
What do they say about the moon landing? I'm like, I don't know.
And then you can see him kind of come to there too.
Yeah. He gets up and he was like, wait, what? Big John told me afterwards, he said to him, I don't know when he said it, but he said to Chael, he was like, you know, he got you with a buggy choke. And he's like, a what? He's like, a buggy choke. He's like, never heard of it. You know, typical Chael. He's like, never heard of it.
Well, dude, I thought that was one of the funniest things is like, I mean, we just, as a joke, we got Christian Piles, he runs like FRL and has a close relationship with Chael, all Christian, those guys. Yeah. And we're just like, hey, someone go get CP and see if he'll freaking come in and just call Chael. Because really, we just wanted Chael to like talk shit, you know, to talk because Gable was out, all that. And then it's like, next thing we know, this match is happening. We're like, oh my gosh, dude, this is nuts. But then Chael on his show was like, he gave, you know, a Chael monologue and like, no one can talk like Chael, dude. It's like unbelievable. He's the pound for pound, I think, greatest ever at trash talk. And he was going off and he was like, the first time I fought Craig, he put me in a submission that I'd never seen before. I'd never heard of it. And he's like giving this thing, you know, and how he's like, well, now I know some things. And it's like, well, damn. Craig went out there and found another submission that Chael had never heard of before. He was like, okay, you never heard of the leg locks back then. Well, I got a new one for you that you've probably never seen also. So it's like, dang, dude, Craig's relentless with just dipping into the freaking piggy bank and pulling out moves that Chael's never seen.
And the fact that it lasted like 25 seconds after all that lead up and build up and stuff was just like, what? Yeah. I mean, it's like it's kind of like better that it happened like that as opposed to just a lot of waste of time. And then same thing. My wife's like, what are they doing? I'm like, it's a do-over. I'm like, you never heard of that? She's like, I've never seen a do-over in sports. I'm like, hey, they're letting them do a do-over. People are in the crowd. They want to see it. Let it ride.
Yeah, you know, it's like Chael didn't tap, so, you know, let's run it back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I even heard the commentary. They're like, all right, I guess we're going to round 2.
Bro, and then he was given 3. No, it was 3 out of 5.
Yeah, 3 out of 5, dude.
Yeah, I saw him going like this. He's like, what, 3? What? Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, but, you know, Chael's a legend for that for sure. But the walkouts were 10 times longer than the match itself.
Yeah.
You know, pretty crazy. Did you stay for the Riff Raff concert or no?
You were
no, busy at that time.
Yeah, I missed the concert, unfortunately, because I was in the back room with, Coach Donaher and Wagner and Mika and Bodoni and Luke and pretty much the whole New Wave team, me, Miha, and Jaren, just explaining to them and going over the rules and the judging and stuff. So, I mean, obviously they were upset, but nothing for us to just hang out and go over the stuff with them. So that way that it's fully transparent, and I'm not mad that Craig's giving them $1 million too. I'm happy as hell for them. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's huge. I like I said, I don't really care who wins. Like I was going to hit up both teams and see if they could be like, yo, I was talking good for both of you guys, just to let you know. Yeah. You know what I mean? So in case you want to have me come through for something, that would be dope. So, but yeah, so I mean that I unfortunately missed the Riff Raff concert, but I was wearing a purple suit, so I did look good while going over the rules with them. So I do know that.
Nice. That was one of the wildest things that came out of this too, is that like the anonymous donor kind of came out and made a Reddit post, and said just like he said what he said, and basically it was just that like he wanted to give New Wave $1 million also. So this dude just dropped another bag for New Wave. So obviously glad those dudes got the money and all that. I know obviously they're not going to be completely satisfied with that. They wanted to be the winners and the best team also, but it's like that was a crazy development to just see like the donor be like, I'm giving another $1 million. And I saw I was reading the thread on Reddit and stuff. There was I think it was the Alion guy. Like he posted a selfie on the donor's private plane and was like, can confirm I'm with him, and Lachlan confirmed it. And then under that guy's post though, where he's like, I'm on his plane right now, everyone's just posting like private flight records and being like, this flight left at 1:40 from Vegas to New Jersey and it's registered.
Damn.
Like,
they're trying to figure out who it is.
Yeah. I was like, okay, maybe, dude, you shouldn't have dropped the, like, I'm on the private plane, because it was like we had the Reddit super sleuths in there just like tracking private flight off the the FAA or whatever. I was like, whoa, dude, this is getting intense.
That's crazy.
We got people tracking. We got the Taylor Swift private tracker going for jiu-jitsu.
Wow. You can't make this. You can't write this stuff. These are stories that, we'll have forever that, I'll be able to tell the guys about, especially being involved in, and be like, dude, then the guy came through and gave them $1 million. Like,
yeah.
If you sit back and think about it, it's insane. Like, and the jiu-jitsu community is just run. I mean, there's no like major, it's like everybody's running it together, which is one of the reasons why I really like this stuff. And I was super happy to hear that Flo was involved now, because I love you guys. And people give Flo a hard time, and I'm like, what the hell are you guys talking about? It makes no sense to me. Like, I'm just always trying to get involved in every tournament and every big show I can, for my own personal brand, but also to help grow the sport. I know when more people watch it, like, more people are going to sign up at gyms, so I think that's huge. So I think everybody working together like that is monstrous. And where do they keep getting the money from? That's crazy. Like, I hope it keeps coming. I hope it keeps coming. That was like the main thing for me. I was like, I just want to do a good job and make sure everybody's happy, as much as I don't have that much to do with it. I have nothing to do with the money, but I was like, I just want to help out as much as I can, because this is huge. I mean, these guys, for some of those guys, like, I know what it was like to be super broke in the beginning, trying to start a gym and compete and everything. Like, $200,000 minus taxes is still a lot of money. You know what I mean? Like, you're getting like $50,000 for somebody that's broke and living at the gym is like life-changing money for them, because then it just opens up doors to do other things and other sponsors and everything. So I think people take for granted sometimes what Craig and Seth and Anthony and you guys at Flow and just everybody in general is doing. Like, that people are bitching online. It's like, dude, you won't even buy a freaking Flow subscription and you're complaining. Shut up. Yeah. You know what I mean? Should have got that Street X kit.
I remember Zach way back in the day. We were talking about, I think it was when John was blowing up and everything, Thor was blowing up and everything. And we were like, dude, we got to work with these guys, Zach, and we got to work, your partners and John, and everybody on our side was like, no, we can't work with those guys. They hate Flow. Like, they don't like us. They hate Flow. And I was like, do they really hate Flow? I was like, damn. I was like, let me reach out to Zach and see if I can go to his gym. And I reached out. I was like, yo, can I come to your gym? And you were like, yeah, man, come down. Absolutely. This is like way back in the day, like 2016 or something probably. So I don't know.
Yeah, that was huge. That you guys coming down and doing that was like crazy for us. Like that, like just being able to share a clip online, be like, yo, Flow's at the freaking school. You know what I mean? Anything to blow it up. That's why I think some of these guys are going to look back and be like, oh man, I really screwed up, because people get mad at me. They're like, wait a minute, you're a judge on Craig Jones. Like, how'd you pull that off? I'm like, yeah, maybe just being cool to everybody and trying to help as much as possible. I mean, that's definitely helps, you know what I mean? So that people are like, I think now maybe opening their eyes a little bit. And remember, even guys were making up shirts and stuff like that saying F Flow. I'm like, man, you guys are going to screw yourselves eventually, because when this shit blows up and you're left back saying like, all this different stuff, it's on you, So, and I've ever since, even when it wasn't a lot of you guys working there and I was working with the other guys that were at Flow, I mean, they were great too. You know what I mean? I never had a problem. So
definitely, bro.
CJI 3 going to be crazy, huh?
Yeah.
Give me a wild one.
I was asking them about that too. And, I don't know if I should. I mean, I guess I'll say that they were saying they're not sure about CJI 3, like they don't know, but it might be in like Mexico or something like that. So imagine that, like being down in Mexico with all these guys. I don't know if
CJI 3 after I think Craig was going through it on this one, the CJI 2, everything. Even like Matt's side, he would come up and just be leaning on the pit, and I'd be like, oh man, dude, Craig is like, he's going through it even with like this shit. So it's like CJI 3 might have to just go wherever he is. Like this dude might go dark for a year and then just like finally reappear when it's time for him to like fight Reed or something in the main event. I don't know who he'd fight then, but what's coming up for finishers, Zach? I know you guys always got stuff cooking, always great stuff. So what's up next for finishers?
Yeah, well, thankfully to you guys and Ricardo put me on and being like, hey, we need content. We want to have like, the next, guys coming up. And I feel like that's what finishers is really about. Like, I'm not trying to be who's number one or Craig Jones. I want to work with those events and companies as much as possible, but we're just happy being like the underground minor leagues where we're just building the new talent of guys. And then hopefully, once they surpass finishers, they go on to other stuff. Like Julian, he's a perfect example. He started with us and then now he's on Who's Number One all the time. Julian Espinosa, and there's a lot of guys like that. So we're just going to keep it going. So basically we're doing one event per month. I told him we got the gas to do it. Put us in, coach. And we're doing it. So September 27th, we have an open, but we're also going to be giving away a spot at Who's Number One undercard. We do that 4 times a year, thankfully, to you guys now. So some of our past winners like Yada Marco and Evan Levy, Amanda Levy's brother, and who else won it for us? Isaac Cordova, who's had a couple of sick matches already at Who's Number One. So this one is women's 125. So if you want to sign up for that, hit me up or whatever will get you in. It's already stacked. There's a lot of great ladies in it. And then October 18th, we got our fall classic show. So every month we got something going. If you go on FloGrappling, check the event hubs, you're going to see tons of stuff up there. And not to mention, finishers sneaking our way in there alongside the other ones too. So we're pumped and we just got to keep it going, man. Hopefully we get another CJI and I don't know what even is next that I'll be going to. I think that Who's Number One in October, I'll be at that one. So maybe I'll see you guys at that.
Definitely, bro. Come through for that. Definitely.
Hells yeah.
And a lot of people, like that are just watching the general big stuff. They got to get hip to finishers because it is true. Like you guys got to bust out the archives and let these people know all of the grapplers who are considered some of the best in the world now. Whenever they were back, grinding on the finishers scene, kind of like uncovering a lot of these gyms early on. So the people got to know where the roots run.
Finishers archives. Yeah, Dante Leone said it one time. He told Max Hansen, because Max was like trying to blow up and like get to the next level, just like everybody. And Dante was like, you know what, dude, you got to travel around the country and win all these other smaller tournaments. He's like, but make sure you win finishers. That's like an underground, kind of like a rite of passage for a lot of guys here on the East Coast, even though he's not from the East Coast, So, but he made his way out here and he, I think his first match, he lost to J-Rod by buggy choke at finishers. It was like a main event. And then he ended up winning the belt and then he won another belt and then he was the double champ for a while. And then he got called up, he started doing Who's Number One matches. And then I just kind of make him, he never lost it. I just kind of make him, relinquish the belt to someone new so we can just keep the game going. So there's some, look, the Ice Age is continuing.
Hey, let's go, dude.
Goop
That's
Ice.
My boy right there. Yeah. Goop Ice. The Ice Age, dude, it's frozen to the core, all right?
I know,
Ain't
it's
nobody
cold.
thawing that ice block anytime soon, all right? The Ice Age continues. Dude, honestly, I got to get down there for one and just be in, Goop Ice's corner, just full suit, like some Pit Vipers or something. I want to come out as a manager for Goop Ice.
Yeah, that would be sick. We did do the
Thompson,
Undertaker.
man.
We did the Undertaker entrance for him one time. We shut the music down. We just had the red light on. It was like, dong. And he came out with that. He came out with the belt and stuff. And everybody's like, some of the guys are like, boo. I'm like, bro, he's our heavyweight champ. We got to keep putting him on. Him and Alex Wynn is the women's champ that has won the most. So, we still have a lot of high level people that come in and defend those belts just to keep the game going. You can't there's not much going around all the time out here. So it's like every month there's a chance for the pros to throw it down. So I'd love to have you guys out one time. Maybe I'll try to schedule one around something else that's cool going on the East Coast. So that way you guys kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
That would be great, And listen, boos, cheers, it's all heat, but there ain't no way anybody can generate enough heat to, stop the Ice Age. So, that one's going to keep going for a long time. But, Zach, it was great having you on, man. It's, we got to have you on more and stuff. That was great getting all the rules stuff, just talking jiu-jitsu with you. Obviously, we love everything you guys are doing at finishers, everything you got going on. So it was an honor for us to have you on and everything.
Yeah, no, thank you guys, man. I love FloGrappling. You guys have been great to me and, giving us huge opportunities I wouldn't have had or wouldn't even be around if it wouldn't be for Flo and everything you guys are doing. So having me on here is huge because I'll be able to share this and people are going to be like, I hate that guy or I like that guy or whatever. So that's huge, but thank you guys again. And anytime you want on, let me know. Anything goes down out here, I'll call in, I'll report to the team, let you guys know what's up.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks everybody at home for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed that breakdown and everything. Hopefully you're watching CJI, but a lot of big stuff on the horizon. I know we announced WNO 30 is going on October 24th in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Tickets available now, but tons more shows on Flow, like Finishers. All these shows you guys should be watching if you want to know, the next guy up, and if you just love jiu-jitsu, But thanks everyone for watching at home, and we'll catch you all in the next episode.
Peace.
Thanks.